Hi there, I'm Annette from Bush Heritage Australia, and in this story from the field we'll be looking at step 4 of the conservation standards. That's the one about analyse and adapt. Just by way of introduction, Bush Heritage is a conservation organisation. We buy and manage land for the biodiversity values there, and we also work in partnership with other large landowners, particularly Aboriginal communities, to help them plan and manage their lands. Just the nature of our projects means they're quite long running, many years. So a lot of our use of the conservation standards is around being able to manage them through repeated iterations of the cycle. But I'll talk about 3 approaches that we use at different stages of a project's life cycle to analyse how we're going. The first is a team assessment. I'll get into the details of that in a moment. The second is an annual review that coincides with the organisation's business planning and budgeting process. And the third is a much deeper evaluation of how we're going, really digging into all the monitoring data in some detail. We see step 4 as an opportunity to really take a step back and think about what we've been doing, looking at our monitoring data, working out, are we getting the results we're expecting from the actions we're taking? And if so, what do we need to do more of? Or if not, what do we need to do differently? So it's a good opportunity to stop and have a think about it. And to illustrate these tools that we use, I'll be using one of our projects, which is the Nadu Hills Reserves in Victoria. You can see an image of that behind me. That's protecting an area of threatened grassy woodlands that's pretty important, and we've been working there for about 10 years now. So onto the first of the approaches we use. It's what we call a team assessment. We would do this every few years, not every year, but every few years. And it's really a chance to, before we get into analysing progress data and really thinking about it, get the team together to just review the quality of the plan that they're using. Often it's in the hurly-burly of getting all the work done, you can lose a bit of sight of just exactly how the plan is set up and what's good and what's not so good about it. So we use this assessment tool to take a look at all the aspects of the plan. It's basically a set of questions around each part of the conservation standard cycle. It lays out 4 levels of quality for each of those steps. And through a team workshop, we'll get people to rate where they think each aspect of the plan is in terms of quality. And then the tool will collate those scores for people to look at. It's not important that the plan is at high quality on every aspect. That's just not achievable. What is important is that the plan's good enough for the work. That's the key part of the plan at this stage of the project's life cycle. So by doing this kind of assessment, we can see where the plan is fine, good enough, or where it might need some improving, and then we can plan some actions over the next year or whatever to update the plan and improve that level of quality. If you're interested in this sort of approach, then a working group of the Conservation Measures Partnership recently collated all these examples from different organisations and produced what they call the Conservation Audit Tool. If you Google that or go onto the Conservation Standards website, you'll be able to find that. It's a tool that you can use for an individual project like Nadu Hills, or you can do it across a whole portfolio of projects, or you can even take it up a level and use it like an audit, a bit like a financial audit that you would use to communicate to people the kind of quality of your work, the quality of your reporting. So it's a useful product for communicating internally and externally. So that's the first of the reviews, the team assessment. The second type of review that we do is an annual review as part of the organisation's business planning and budgeting process. During the year, we've been implementing the plan, collecting a whole lot of monitoring data. So this is a chance to do some housekeeping, make sure we've got all the monitoring data stored in systems, that we've collected up what we call sort of incidental or informal data, like videos, photographs, incidental observations of species, all that sort of stuff. An opportunity to make sure that that's all collected and stored and available for analysis. In terms of systems, we keep most of our project information in Marathi, and we use some Esri GIS systems for the detailed monitoring data. This annual tidy up is really important when you've got long-running projects like we do. People inevitably come and go, to join the team, move on. If we're not continually collecting that data, making sure it's getting stored properly, then we lose it. And that's just a massive waste of time and opportunity if you aren't collecting the data that you need to really understand how your project's going. So we try to do that each year, and then we move on into this annual review so that we can check how the project's going and then prepare for next year. We typically try to ask 3 questions of how things are going. The first is fairly basic, but it's, are we actually implementing the plan? Are we doing what we said we would do? And so to check on this, we look at progress reports and the data for our output indicators. We really want to know, are we getting done what we thought? And this will tell us whether we're broadly on track, or maybe we're not on track. Maybe things aren't going quite to plan. And then we can think about, well, why is that? Is it we just haven't got enough resources applied to the project? Do we need more time? Do we need more money? Do we need more people? Really thinking about what is it that's stopping us from implementing the plan. Second question is, are our strategies working? Are they really helping us to manage or reduce threats or improve the health of our targets? And so to answer that, we look at our outcome indicators and the objectives. And again, we're thinking, are we on track, or have we got some sort of problem? Is there a resourcing issue that's stopping us achieving what we thought we could do? And the third question is around our targets. Are they getting healthier or staying about the same? On an annual review, often not much happens within a year in terms of health of targets. It's a much more long-running thing, but it's an opportunity to have a look at that, and it can at least give some early warning signs if something's really not working or some adjustments needed. So the aim of those 3 questions is to understand what we've done, the actions we're taking, and the results we've achieved, and are they what we were expecting or not. So this helps us think about, can we just keep going into the next year at about the same pace? Do we need to try to find more resourcing? Or is it basically everything okay? Or do we need to really rethink a strategy or change an aspect of the plan? So with all that kind of insight, the team can then collate an annual report, which we do in Marathi, outlining progress, next steps, lessons learned for the year. And then they can update the budget for the next year. And because we plan all of our projects in basically the same way, that helps the organisation see across all the projects what the kind of resourcing is required, and start to make the judgment calls about where priority should go, what adjustments we should be making. So that's the second type of review that we do. The third type is the much longer term evaluation. Again, we do this on a varying timescale, about 5 to 10 years, depending on the project and what else is going on and how much resourcing we've got. But this is a much deeper dive than that annual review. It's really looking down into quite some detail of all the monitoring data that we've been collecting and all the sort of things that are happening around the project site, a much more thorough analysis. It's generally done by our scientists with the project team, and using external experts where needed for particular aspects of the project. In this review, we try to look at the project from 3 angles, kind of all at the same time, because it all connects. We look at each target in terms of how is its health tracking. We're looking at the goals and our impact indicators there, and trying to understand if the target health is improving or declining or staying about the same. And thinking about what other factors are at play that might be impacting on the targets beyond the actions that we're taking. In the Nadu Hills example, climate variability is a big impact, having a lot of impact there on a couple of our targets. So looking beyond the actual project itself into what's happening around us as well. We also look at each results chain to understand, is that playing out like we expect it to? So we're looking at objectives and outcome indicators there to understand, is our theory of change working, or do we need to make some sort of adjustment? And we're also looking at the output indicators again, about just what actions we're taking, and are they on plan? Are we doing what we said we would do fast enough, often enough? And we're also looking at the status of the key threats. Are they getting better or worse, or are there any new ones coming along? So trying to come at it from 3 angles to really understand what's happening at the site, and using quite detailed analysis of all the monitoring data to understand how that's tracking. That can take quite some time, depending on the size of the project and the amount of data that needs to be monitored. The end result is an evaluation report, which is necessarily detailed, long, a bit technical, very important for the scientists and the team and the other people kind of collaborating on the project, targeted particularly for that audience. But we have other audiences as well that we need to report to show how we're going. So we extract a lot of that information from the evaluation into what we call the conservation scorecard, which is a 2-page summary, plain English kind of version of all that technical analysis that is really important for communicating how we're going, not just internally to other projects, but more importantly to our external supporters and donors, and to showing what sort of action we're taking, what results we're achieving, what impact we're having. And so it's really a critical communication tool for all sorts of reasons. So that's the third of the evaluation of the reviews that we do. First being the team assessment to understand how the plan is, what the quality is. Second being an annual review to keep ticking over, keeping the project moving on an annual basis and feeding into the project budgeting. And the third is this more detailed evaluation every 5 years, more often if we can do it, probably longer if we can't. So just to summarise about step 4, we said it's all about taking a step back, pausing, reflecting on how we've been going, learning and improving the quality of the plan, and bringing the team together to just really draw breath and see how it's going. It's a really critical part of good adaptive management. You can't do adaptive management if you're not doing that kind of regular reflection at some level of detail, and you're not collecting the data that you need and getting it stored and making sure it's of good quality. So I hope you find something out of all that. That's what we've applied and we've found it useful. I hope you can start to apply some of that in your own projects. Thanks for listening.